damn.
Every time I come into this room, you're on the phone saying, damn.
That's because every time you come into this room, there's a dead body being carried upstairs.
Are we sure Nick is dead?
Nobody's gonna put whatever it was into that real lemon and not silence him for good.
Yeah, you're right.
Of course I'm right.
He's also really good.
Well, I suppose if I were wrong once in a while, it might relieve some of the boredom.
Well, why don't I just go out and come back in?
No, Toby, please don't. I'm sorry. I'm all at 6s and 9s.
It's 6s and 7s.
Well, see, I don't even know where I am. Why did Lois start all this?
To give us a plot.
She should know you can't give authors plots, especially ones without an ending.
And the beginning is pretty lousy, too.
We have the trappings, we have the makings of a classic here. The storm, the isolated cast, the bridge and phone both out, and 2 murders.
Readers always expect at least 2.
Poor Nick. I rather liked him.
Well, he was certainly better as himself as he was that hitman.
But was he acting?
Oh, they were all acting. But one of them is a real murderer.
We should be able to solve this. It's not near as good as what we write. Let's start all over. There's June Connors, Cora Langmuir, Nick, what did you say his last name was?
Smith, do you believe it?
Well, there have to be a few legitimate Smiths. And there's Dr. Stephen Manfred, B.B. Mink.
And 2 bodies at last count.
1 body.
Lois and Nick.
If 1 body is missing, then we've solved it. The first one killed isn't really dead, turns out to be the murderer, and, oh, but that's like Agatha Christie. And what?
Stop chattering.
I am not chattering.
Well, perhaps babbling is a better word.
But 1 corpse is missing.
I am trying to tell you there is only 1 body. Nicholas Smith is not dead.
Yet. You are going to add yet, right?
All right, yet. Are you satisfied?
You can't speak, can you?
Not
Yet.
yet.
It's just not cricket. If Nick gets poisoned, collapses, and then revives and tells who the murderer is.
He is hanging on to life.
By a thread, right?
Why am I telling you this if you already know it?
Well, if you give us a familiar speech, we can usually finish it, can't we, Toby?
Yeah, unless you say the murderer is, and then we're stuck.
If Nicholas awakens, he will tell us. That's the culprit, isn't it?
It must be. The killer knew he would squirt it into his seltzer sooner or later.
But June had the same drink.
Yeah, but that wasn't what she had to drink earlier. The murderer wasn't trying to kill June.
He must have no conscience.
You're right.
You know, whatever Nicholas was pointing at over there must have incriminated the killer. But the poison was put in his drink before he pointed.
So he was being murdered before he knew who the killer was.
That doesn't make sense. I demand that plots make sense.
Oh, might I remind you of the corpse with the sleepy eye?
Not that again.
You were the one that thought up the slingshot through the French doors.
A very clever first draft.
Yeah, with the French doors closed.
Well, you didn't catch it until the final rewrite.
Will you two stop bickering?
We are not bickering. We are discussing.
Well, you should be around when we're writing.
You know, the real question is why the poison was put into Nick's drink and when it was.
Maybe he wasn't pointing at the murderer. Perhaps they were in partnership, and he suddenly noticed the fatal slip.
We authors always say that. The fatal slip.
Wow, are your books really that clever?
Oh, even more so.
I must get to a library.
Well, why not get to a bookstore and buy them?
Why buy when one can rent?
I have never been able to answer that to my advantage.
I'm sure it's gonna be all okay. You'll see.
I'm not so sure. Dr. Leach.
Wrong name. He's not my husband.
I keep forgetting who everyone is, but that Dr.
Manfred.
Dr. Manfred said Nick might
about Nick, and there's nothing we can do but wait.
Yeah, together. If we all wait together, then the killer cannot strike again.
Why should anyone else get killed?
Well, if Nick was in cahoots with the murderer,
What are you saying?
if Nick was in cahoots with...
I heard you!
Cahoots, that's a great word. We ought to use that more often.
So you think Nick was in partnership with someone?
Then if he is, it's...
Yeah, one of us.
There we go with that stupid line again.
Are you gonna turn this into a book?
If the ending is good enough.
I read one of your books once.
From the lending library?
Someone left it on the subway.
Did you enjoy it?
I bet there weren't enough pictures.
I liked it. And if it's good enough and it becomes a miniseries, perhaps I can play you.
Oh, why, how flattering.
I think my future's in character roles.
You don't think Sloane could play herself?
But she's not the type. You remember that movie when Sigourney Weaver played the dame protecting those gorillas?
You mean Diane Fossey?
I saw that movie too.
Well, Sigourney Weaver got that part because Miss Fossey wasn't the type.
Also, she was dead.
Yeah, but by the end of the weekend, she could be dead.
And you could be dead too.
Oh, jeez. We better catch that murderer.
Somehow, one of you was paid
To
or had him
ice.
over, yes, to ice her. Is that right, Phoebe?
That's the word of the month.
Yeah, but which one of you was it?
I didn't even know Lois Dunstan.
Me either.
I bet you were her illegitimate daughter. And yes, and you have never forgiven her for giving you up for adoption.
Now you
Still-
want to get her a steak.
Still want to see my birth certificate in my purse.
It's a shot in the dark.
Well, that's a good point.
It's been used.
Well, I didn't know Mrs. Dunstan either. I am innocent.
Oh,
Well, I'm innocent of the murder.
You could be Walter Matthews' mistress, like I said earlier.
Who?
Walter Matthews, the millionaire who's going into partnership with Lois.
And he's throwing me over for this Lois, and so I ice her. Yeah, I could play that part.
You know, I think we can safely say that none of us is the murderer.
But it has to be one of us.
one of us. Not necessarily in this room.
Well, why not?
Because we're not all here.
We are now. Am
Oh,
I being accused of something?
We were just saying that any one of us could be the killer.
Sure. I could have been drunk when I operated and killed someone on the operating table.
Daughter.
And it could have been Mrs. Dunstan's daughter.
That's me.
What?
Or when they were saying how I could be guilty, I was her daughter.
But Lois didn't have a daughter.
Lucky for me.
unlucky for the daughter.
Then I'd be dead.
Your poor kid's so young, too.
You know, perhaps this is the perfect crime.
I thought that was impossible.
It is.
Then why don't you solve it?
There is a clue upstairs inside of Nick, but he can't talk. Doctor, what's his prognosis?
Prognosis. What a good word. So professional.
Thank you.
Well, what's it mean?
The outcome.
And what is his outcome?
Well, Nicholas was definitely poisoned.
We know that with the real lemon.
I'm positive that it was a poison called digitaphalanx.
I'm completely lost.
Again, please.
Digitaphalanx.
That's from South Africa. Those poisons come from South Africa. They're effective in blowguns, too.
Correct, except this one is from South America.
Are you sure that's what it is?
Oh, yes. I have 2 patients recently that had exactly the same symptoms, and they had both just come back from up the Amazon.
Scientists beating through the brush with machetes?
No, butterfly collectors. The scientific community calls this poison digitaphalanx. The natives call it something like wanunka.
How do you know so much about this?
I specialized in tropical diseases after med school.
Will Nick recover?
Well, that's hard to say. We just have to wait till the crisis passes.
Near dawn. Crises are always near dawn.
So, it looks like we're all suspects. So someone question us.
Yes, we're all in the living room like suspects are supposed to be. Toby, ask something.
But what am I supposed to do? Say everybody who's innocent, raise your hand?
Bibi,
Oh yeah, me too.
someone is lying. And don't anybody say which one.
I think we should begin with where Nicholas was pointing. Do you think he was indicating a cohort as we had suspected earlier? Or was he actually pointing to a clue?
Well, he was looking over here. There's nothing there but a shelf with some books and
What?
look,
Where?
there.
What is it?
There's nothing there but an empty space.
That's the point.
Sloan, you are marvelous.
We think as one, don't we, darling?
Exactly.
What are you talking about?
Well, why is an empty space so important?
Because there was something there earlier and now it's gone.